Yo, welcome back to another episode of the most authentic and nuanced holistic health and fitness podcast hosted by your favorite crunchy strength and conditioning coach. I am Kelsey Moore. You guys know that by now. I have about 10 minutes. Literally, I'm going to give you a 10-minute chunk of information and then I got to skedaddle because I have to take the new Blackstone that I just bought out of my car before my husband gets home from work because he's going to try and put it together. But I have to go to a chiropractic appointment and I need to get it out of my car before he gets home so I'm not late to my chiropractic appointment so then I can cook my freaking quesadillas tonight. So I have 10 minutes. I'm watching the clock. I'm giving you 10 minutes of my time and my energy here. Okay. This Saturday, I have my second 50K. I am excited about it. I am pretty nervous about a couple different things. One being that it is a 9-hour time hack rather than a 10-hour time hack. I had 10 hours last time. Now I have 9. I did my last race in 8 hours and 42 minutes. So even including the aid stations and having to refill my pack and all of that, I do think I will be okay. And I know myself, if I make the cutoff time at the 25-mile mark, which is the last aid station, that's the last time they're going to check your bib and check you in before you continue, I will destroy myself at the end so that I can make the time hack. So it's really I have to basically run, I have to run 25 miles in, what is that, 2:15, 14 hours and 15, no, not 14 hours, sorry. Let's see, I'm doing mental math here, 5, 6, 7 hours and 15 minutes. So because once I hit 25 miles, then I can, again, destroy myself. And the train is not so bad from 25 to 32. So a little nervous about the bit of the pressured time hack there, but I think I will do just fine. Second thing is that this weekend, it's a completely solo trip for me. I was telling my husband, earlier this week, this is feels a little significant because I have never had a weekend camping trip specifically by myself. Granted, I'm just car camping and it's only one night, but that is kind of tradition, is to sleep at the trailhead at your campsite before this particular race that I'm doing. And I'm not going to tent camp. I'm just going to car camp because I have a Subaru. So I'm really excited about it. I'm going to bring my single burner that I have stashed away in my little prepper closet that I have because Moore County has power outages all of the time. And so we have a really nice single burner and a cast iron. So I'm going to bring that. And they have porta potties out there and I have plenty of camping gear to keep me warm. So I'm really not concerned about it. It's just more of wow, I'm really out of my comfort zone this weekend. And I was talking to George on the phone yesterday as he was giving me a little bit of a pep talk. And we were talking about the race and breaking it down. And I was telling him all these different things and he goes, wow, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, whole weekend out of the comfort zone, And I was like, yes, can you sense it in my voice? So I'm excited about it, but I'm definitely a little nervous about just, I'm not going to have any type of, cheering squad, which is pretty par for the course in trail racing because not a lot of people can go onto the course because it's not like you're on a road, you're in the middle of the mountains. So it's just completely solo, driving up a couple hours away, camping the night before, prepping myself in my pack, just all on my own. And then I'm 9 hours in the woods, hopefully spending time with Jesus, which is good. So, I'm getting ready for that this weekend. I'm just kind of preparing my heart and preparing my mind to go out and do this. And, yeah, I'm getting excited. So it's basic, 30 to 32-ish miles. The first 5 miles is climbing. And I have done the half marathon version of this race. So I know the initial climb, the first 5 to 10 miles I'm fairly familiar with. The first 5 miles are basically uphill. And then the second 5 miles straight downhill. Next 10 miles climbing. Next 10 miles generally down. So, different race planning than compared to last time. Last time, I had loops and it was a little bit more predictable. This time I have to break it up into different, smaller chunks for me to focus on. And the terrain is easy for me to memorize. And I'm going to have the terrain map and the aid station layout as the background on my phone, which is trail run, tip 101 is like put the map as the background of your phone. So like as you're changing your music or as you're just kind of like out there cruising, you can check your phone and you can kind of follow along rather than having to like open your phone, and especially if you get super sweaty, if your pack gets super sweaty, then like trying to touch your phone while you're sweaty is just a nightmare. So having it as your background is clutch. So going to be doing that. Also, the aid stations at this race are pretty like well outfitted with food. And because I'm not going to have any crew or drop bags out there, I will have to either carry all of my nutrition on me or I'm going to have to really rely on the aid stations. And I'm going to do about half and half. I'm still going to carry about 2 liters of water on me, including Tailwind, and also about 6 goos I think I'm going to take with me, about, or probably 5 or 6 goos, and then maybe a little bag of salt and vinegar chips, or the candies that make me feel good. That was kind of another pointer that George gave me, was carry the food on you that will make you happy and will kind of lift your spirits, so that you're not just eating like the necessary food the entire time. That can get like a little bit mentally draining. So good pointers there that I'm taking into it. He always gives me 3 C's: composure, confidence, and compete. And so how I'm breaking up the race is the first 10 miles, with like the first 5 miles being a massive climb and the next 5 miles being a massive downhill. That is my composure. That's where like I have to just kind of get my legs underneath me, get in the groove, just like cruise 1 mile at a time. The next 10 miles is a massive up climb, literally the entire 10 miles. 10 miles of climbing. Woo! So from that standpoint, I have got to be confident in myself. I have to be confident in my race plan. I have to be confident in my nutrition plan. And I have to just absolutely stay the course, figuratively and literally stay the course. So that is the section that is going to make or break the race, is whether or not I can keep my footing, my plan, my mental clarity through that 10-mile climb in kind of the middle section of the race. And then compete is going to be once I'm done with that 10-mile climb and I'm generally going down for 10 more miles to finish out the race. That's where I can compete. And that's where it's like I can cross that line. I can kind of cross that threshold in my brain where it's like, all right, it's go time. And I remember last time, I think I told you guys, like I changed my music, like I changed my attitude. I changed, I got a little bit more serious. I was really looking at my pacing at that point, trying to work on like where my footing was and like what my cadence was. Whereas like the front, 66% of the race, the front 2/3 of the race, I was really just like trying to keep my composure and not let that loose, because if you let it loose, at mile 4, you're doomed. So that's kind of my race plan going into it. I'm really excited about it. I had a really, extensive list of prayer requests that came flooding in from Instagram. And that's always just like such a blessing to me to be able to pray for other people. I'm not going to probably share this on my Instagram because the audience is a little bit bigger than like who listens to my podcast. But the whole point of the podcast is to kind of show like the background of it. But the reason why I find praying for other people like just so powerful, it's kind of an analogy. So my husband in college had to do not a book report, an interview. He had to interview a Vietnam veteran. And my great uncle is a Vietnam veteran. He has 2 Purple Hearts from Vietnam. And so my husband interviewed him for one of his history classes. And my uncle's name is Uncle Jim. And Uncle Jim, I think my husband asked him some sort of like, do you struggle with any PTSD? Did you struggle with anything? How did you recover from it? Yada, yada. And Uncle Jim was like, he has 2 Purple Hearts. And so he got injured twice over there. And he talked about how when he got home from Vietnam, he worked in, when he nerked, wow. In order to combat some of the PTSD, he ended up working at the nursery at his church, like the children's nursery. And he talked so powerfully about how when you're suffering the most, if you can lift up your eyes and you can lift up your gaze to bless somebody else, the Lord will heal your own wounds to some extent in that scenario. Like when you are just in a really rough place, being able to take, your eyes off of yourself and like that insular moment and being able to look forward to blessing other people, it's pretty miraculous what God will do in your life. And so I take like a sliver of that story and I am able to do a small portion of that. I'm not comparing myself to my uncle who's 2 Purple Hearts at Vietnam, but I just think that's such like a beautiful way and a beautiful picture of when you are down in the dumps. Sometimes you can be like, why me? Why God? I'm suffering, blah, blah, blah. Granted, I signed up for these races, but I'm kind of getting to the end of myself that I know of physically in those moments. And so being able to make that shift mentally and pray for other people is really helpful. And I did find last time that was able to kind of keep me positive. It was able to keep me like in a bigger picture and not just like grind myself down to like the nubbins mentally and emotionally, because I was like, Lord, praying for myself constantly. So small little background there, cute little story. And my Uncle Jim is just amazing. He's still an amazing guy. Still kicking. So I doubt he's ever going to hear this, but that's basically, something that I had taken from him in that interview that he did with my husband. So anyways, have a wonderful weekend. I apologize that this Thursday podcast is pretty short, but I'm just a busy gal, and I hope to just bless you guys in small ways, every week, whether that's with a guest or just a small word of encouragement. So if you're having a hard time, maybe consider blessing somebody else and see how God moves in you through that. Okay, have a great weekend. Bye.